Hey guys, so I decided to create a different live. Let me go over to my other one and leave the information because I have no idea what it's talking about. Playlist, other. Nope, that's not it. I am so computer illiterate, it's not even funny. There we go. Wait, that's not it. Okay, let's see. Hold on 1 second. Okay. No, this one. Okay. I don't know how to do this stuff. Anyway, here here I am. Uh, I can't figure out the other one for the life of me. Evidently, when I scheduled it, I don't know what happened. So, yes. Um, that's my dog. You can hear. Okay. How has life changed since Dr. Phil, and do people recognize me? No, people don't really recognize me. And if they do, it's because they already know who I am. So my community is pretty small. And so people already know who I am and my story. And so I haven't like been randomly recognized. I did go to the beach for a little bit, and one girl was like talking to me, and it came up, um, but it was all positive. How's life changed since Dr. Phil? It really hasn't, other than people harass me all day long now. And then I've been helping families to get resources and stuff like that. So that's been good. Um, my advice for someone who has been abused. Um, that's hard. It depends because depending on the abuse, I would give you different advice. But um, positive reinforcement, positive I statements, all of those things are extremely important. So, um, like as a victim, we tend to believe that we're dirty or worthless or no good. But instead of allowing ourselves to believe those lies, statistically speaking, it takes 10 times of hearing something positive to replace one negative. So if you're telling yourself that you're worthless, then every single time you tell yourself you're worthless, you have to say, I am not worthless 10 times just to erase the one time that you fed yourself that lie. So, my biggest advice for victims is to constantly reverse those negative thoughts and make sure you're saying them at least 10 times to replace the one negative. So, if you said it like 4 times in a row, then you're going to have to say it 40 times in the other direction. My night has been stressful because I can't figure out how to live stream on my scheduled stream. I'm gonna have to do some research and figure this out. If anybody wants to teach me, cool. I never had really planned on doing a channel that was gonna be a big deal. So yeah, I don't know how to live stream, I guess, on a scheduled one. So if somebody knows how to teach me that, like some gamer out there maybe that streams all the time, I think my nephew could probably help me, but I don't know. I have no idea how to stream. So I just made a whole new live video because I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. Um, have people been critical of us and our story, and how do I deal with it? Sure. Yeah. Depending on the video, of course, people are critical because, we like to be um, vocal on things that we don't understand. And people think that they're entitled to an opinion about something that they don't know. And so you're always going to have the bad apple in the bunch, but you just don't let it spoil the bunch. So most of the most of what's out there has been positive, and yeah, so I focus on the positives and I keep going because we're saving children and we're helping families. And so I will keep doing a channel as long as there's still a need. And I will keep fighting for people because nobody fought for us. And I would have loved to have somebody who could have been in my corner, helping me, giving me ideas, bouncing things off of me. I think that would have been way better than what I went through alone. Um, He did. So what did Robbie like? He does like movies, but he honestly was obsessed with handwriting. He loved to make letters and notes and signs and all sorts of stuff. He was obsessed with his handwriting. So anything and everything he could just create and write, he would do. Um, and he really liked school buses, which is probably not good. He has a dream of becoming a bus driver, and his therapist is still encouraging him to go after that dream. And I don't agree with that. I think that that is kind of setting himself up for failure. And I've encouraged her to help him think of other career paths. But she says that she's there to advocate for him and that he's going to learn how to control these urges. So he should be able to drive a school bus full of children. Yeah. Um, my dog. I think he's in the room. Hold on, let me see. Teddy! Teddy! Sorry, I call him like that. It's so annoying. Oh, here. Come on. Come on. Get up here. Come on. Jump. Come on. I'm trying to get him. Hold on. I might have to help him. He's tiny. Hold on. I'm in my daughter's room hiding. Come on. Come here. Oh, there you go. Okay. I have a Pomeranian. His name is Teddy. And this is him. Here he is. He just got his hair cut. So he's a little fluffer ball. And he's got some short hair because he gets really hot really, really easily. So yeah, we have a Pomeranian, and his name is Teddy. And he's super cute. There he is. Say hi, Teddy. Say hi. So he doesn't speak very well, but he is a mama's boy. He and I snuggle all the time. He's like my best friend. And honestly, like the best support I've had through this whole process is definitely my animals. My teddy bear here has been amazing. And then I also have a cat, and his name is Garfield, and he's orange. And then my husband has 2 cats also. His are Maine Coons though. They're ginormous. Yes, this is my natural hair color. It's not all that lovely. It changed over the years, and then it changed again. So it's a little bit of a hot mess right now. And I'm in my PJs, so sorry. Trying to keep up with you guys. Can Robbie view these videos? I honestly don't know if his therapist will share them with him or not. He knows that I have a channel, and he knows that I'm trying to help other families. And him and I are kind of on the outs right now. We're fighting a little bit. Not fighting. We're just kind of a little distant right now because he's angry that I've decided to focus on my own mental health and healing from this process. And he doesn't like that I will not ask him hard questions when I speak to him, like, how are you doing? What are you doing in therapy? Like, what progress are you making? He doesn't want to hear those questions anymore. He says it stresses him out. And it feels like I'm always putting pressure on him to change, and he wants me to accept him for who he is. Not going to happen. I accept him and I love him, but I'm certainly not going to enable his behavior, and I'm not going to tell him it's okay because I don't believe his behavior is okay. I will never believe that that type of behavior is okay, and I'm always going to be pushing him to take advantage of the help that he's given. So right now, him and I are fighting a little bit, and I went from being his um, like he came to me for everything, and now he's 16 and has a bad attitude, and so I'm just the annoying mom at this point. So I think I'm doing my job then. Like, I don't think we're supposed to be the best of friends, and I think I'm supposed to annoy him sometimes, so I think that's okay. What are his goals in life? What is his dream job? So I did cover that. He wants to be a school bus driver or he wants to be a cosmetologist, both which are risky careers considering he would be around children for either. I'm not in favor of either, and I don't encourage him to focus on those career paths. I'm so sorry you were abused as a child, and thank you for the encouragement and the kind words. What's the place that Robbie is at like? That would be a good YouTube video. Maybe I'll do a video on that because that's a good question. So it's a max lockdown facility, so it's a lot like a juvenile detention center. However, it's therapeutic based. So he has groups every day, and he has individual therapy each and every day. Unfortunately, they're allowing him to write letters to whomever he wants because when we had him sentenced, we did not clarify or prohibit anyone. I thought that we would have more respect from the therapist. The parole officer and myself are very annoyed and upset with the way things have been being handled by her. The man who we suspect might have abused Robbie as a child, they're allowing him to write letters back and forth. And ever since the two of them started writing letters back and forth, all of a sudden now I'm the bad guy. And so it's just been kind of interesting and also frustrating and also difficult because if anybody has fought harder for that kid, I did. Yeah. So I get really upset about that because I've rooted harder for him than anybody. I have fought day and night to get him help, and it's just frustrating because I just see him going backwards, and I don't understand how having communication with that person is healthy for him, and it's certainly not healthy for us. So, yeah. Thank you for commending me for talking about this. Love back to you as well. His therapist, well, I don't like to name call, but I certainly don't really care for her. And she's actually on her last leg. She's been given 3 warnings already. And if she continues to navigate backwards, then she's getting cut. So she's treading thin water. The last session, she was trying to make me feel guilty and bad for not allowing Robbie to have hope that he could be integrated back into our family. And I said, I'm not going to set him up for failure. He cannot ever come home. He will always have a relationship outside of our family. And he's upset and angry with me because he wants to go on family vacations and he wants to come to family Christmases someday. But that just can't happen. And there's other reasons outside of what you guys know. But he certainly can never do those things. And she continues to encourage us to talk about that. We need to stop talking about it. He's been there 4 months. Like, we've already covered it. Like, let it go. Like, she's frustrating me. Ooh, you have a Palm too. I love my Palm. He's my best friend. He is so loving. He's just laying here next to me now. He's like the best dog ever. And thank you. He is gorgeous. When his hair is all grown out, so it's like this long right now, but normally his hair is like this long. And he just looks like a giant cotton ball. He looks so funny. But I trim his hair when it's warm out because he gets so hot and he's just completely miserable. And I don't want him to feel like that. And yes, Teddy was the family dog that Robbie hurt. Has he been diagnosed with anything yet? Do you feel manipulated in conversations with him? So I did feel manipulated in conversations with him. Hold on, I lost my place. Okay, hold on. Sorry, that's hard to keep up. Um, yeah, well, I don't think his therapist has kids, so I don't think she thinks like that yet, but I would hate to see when she has a baby. He is 16 right now. He is definitely a bit of a narcissist. Um, he but I don't know that he intentionally is a narcissist. He doesn't have like a lot of self confidence. It's not that he talks himself up, but he definitely thinks that he should be able to do what he wants when he wants to. And that's kind of narcissistic. And do I feel manipulated in conversations with him? So back to that. So it's not that I feel manipulated in conversations. I feel like he tries to manipulate me now in conversations, but I stopped playing that game. So when he was at the treatment therapy from Dr. Phil, they made me very aware of the way that I was enabling him without knowing I was enabling him. So if he didn't want to talk about something that was hard, I would just kind of let him get away with it. And then we would just kind of like be like, oh, well, how's everything else? Are you enjoying your time there? Blah, 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 blah. And he was like, stop doing that. It doesn't matter if he's enjoying his time here because he's not here to enjoy his time. And so when I figured that out, it was a lot easier for me to understand how I was enabling him and how I was kind of being manipulated. And so since that program, it really taught me a lot about how I interact with him. And ever since I started interacting that way, I'm the bad guy, which is totally fine. I'm fine with being the bad guy if he takes anything away from this. I just hope that he takes his serious or his treatment serious. It is a little bit frustrating because my husband still continues to enable him and be like, "How are you, buddy?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Stop doing that. Like, have the conversations." And our son will write home letters and talk about how he just needs to hear his dad's voice because his dad is supportive and that I'm now the bad guy because I won't just let it go how he thinks and feels and accept him for who he is. So he gets very angry with me for refusing to say, I love you the way you are. Um, I tell him I love him and he understands that, but I also tell him I do not support or love his behaviors. You can love the sinner, not the sin. There you have it. Has he been diagnosed with anything? Oh my gosh. He's been diagnosed like 100 different things, but it's always unspecified anxiety disorder or unspecified depression or unspecified this because he's still a minor in our state. They're so careful about putting labels. And it's so frustrating because he doesn't get any actual like diagnoses. And since he's only been in this new program for 4 months since he turned 16, they won't label him for at least like a year. So I don't really know what he's labeled at this point. It's always back and forth. And at one point it was oppositional defiant disorder. And I don't know. It depends on who you ask, which therapist, which program. I think his therapist is pretty young and it's a she. And yeah, I don't know what her experience is or how long she's been with them. I can't imagine her being there long term if she continues to be that kind of therapist. But unfortunately, because he got sentenced, I have very little power over what we can control. So we have to go through everything has to go through the PO, and the PO has to, of course, go through the judge. And so everything has to be like stepped up now to like control or like deal with any certain issue. I definitely think I try really hard not to give him false hope, and I won't. I'm trying to find my spot again. I keep losing my spot. Yeah. Corresponding with his potential predator. He says he doesn't remember the abuse and he doesn't think it happened. And he says the stuff that he said before about maybe there was something that happened, he says that he feels like he was convinced to believe that by his previous programs. And the program he's at now, his therapist convinces him that the other two programs didn't matter and it's okay that he didn't take them serious. She wouldn't have either. She enables this child like so bad. Like I can't even tell you. I am so frustrated by her. I'll be honest. Yeah, we don't get why she would encourage that relationship. She says that she just can't stop it and that she's had the conversations with him and that he just feels like he doesn't have enough support and so he needs more supportive people in his life. That's her excuse. Meanwhile, I have asked this woman to set up multiple family sessions a week, but she doesn't do it. She just does whatever she wants, and then I don't know what they talk about or what she tells him, but evidently he thinks that like I'm the worst person in the world now. And I contacted his PO again and I was like, look, there's something seriously wrong. I don't know what he's being fed, but all of a sudden I'm the bad guy now and I don't understand what's happening. So I told the PO I need it investigated and then we need to do something about it. Um and yeah, palms. I love them. Yes, I do believe he's manipulating his therapist because he comes off like he's like the sweetest kid in the entire world. And if you didn't know he had problems, you would seriously be like, "Oh, he's so sweet. Like what a good kid." You would. He is he is. He's like the master manipulator. If you ever met his biological mother, I fell for her tricks for the first so many months too. He learned that trait and he learned from one of the best because people think she's so nice at first and then they like learn about her and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like who is this person?" Yeah, so he's really good at manipulating. Yeah, I definitely think if he was to be labeled narcissistic that he would be a vulnerable narcissist. I am releasing a book hopefully on Tuesday. Just so everybody's aware, it's not really about Robbie. Okay, not everything's about Robbie. And some people have given me negative feedback regarding this, but I don't really care. I've been writing this book for, hold on, let me think, 15 years. No, yes, 15 years. I've been writing this book. And I've written it, I've rewritten it, I've shredded it, I've rewritten it. I never had the strength to write it completely. Um, and after all of this happened, and everybody said, like, I need to focus on myself, I got really motivated to just like finally get it out there and like put my stuff down in the book. And I was like, I need to work through this and I just need to do it. So I pushed myself and I put all the pieces together that I'd written over the years and I started piecing it together. And I've worked really hard. It talks about my childhood, my traumas. I have severe trauma from my childhood all the way up until adulthood. Literally, it could be a lifetime movie. Like my life was rough, but I'm releasing my book. That is for me. That's not for Robbie. It's not because of Robbie. It's because I deserve to no longer live in the dark. And I spent the last 2.5 years suffering, living in the dark, ashamed of my situation, and ashamed of who I am and what I came from for no reason. Um, and when Dr. Phil brought what was going on to light, I got so much support and so much outpouring that it really helped me to find the communication that was going on as therapeutic. And so I decided, like, I need to finish my book. I need to do this for me. And so I actually was done with it. And I was supposed to release it on Tuesday, last Tuesday. However, my computer crashed and I lost the whole thing. So then I had to go back to the beginning and piece together all the pieces, and I'm rewriting it. And right now I'm on like chapter 6, I think, and there's like 10 chapters. So yeah, and so I'm determined that this version, I was looking for tissue. Sorry, my nose is getting sniffly because I almost cried. But this version I hope will be better than what I was going to release. So yeah, I lost it when I sent it over to the editor. The program I was using crashed, and then somehow it deleted it, and then wiped it from my hard drive, and I don't know how to get it back. I tried to use like recovery software. It was this whole big thing. It was really awful. And then I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to release the book. I'm done. I wanted to give up, but then I started working on it and now I'm rewriting it and I'm going to do it. You guys just have to keep pushing me. Just tell me, get that book done. But most of the book is about my life. Chapter 10, I think, talks about Robbie. But the majority of the book is not about Robbie. It is simply my traumas from a childhood all the way up through adulthood to where I am now and how I plan to move forward with my life. You want me to do a quick backstory of my life or of Robbie? Lala. I must have missed something. No, Christmas can never happen. And I can't tell you why, but it can never happen. Never. Christmas with him and his father and I can happen, but he is never allowed to be around his siblings ever again. It's unfortunate, but it's just not even an option. Do I think he'll get better, or do I think he'll just keep getting worse? I don't know that he'll get worse. I think he's going to stay the same as long as he doesn't work the program. And I think that the talk therapy and stuff is not going to fix him based off of his brain mapping. And if they don't follow the recommendations after the brain mapping, I don't know that he'll get better. But now that he's been charged, it's not really an option for him to get the brain mapping therapy. How often do I talk to his therapist? 1 to 2 times a week, but I email her in between. I definitely think she's being manipulated by him. It doesn't matter at this point if we relocated because he's already owned by the state. So, like, they're his guardianship now. We have no control over it for the rest of his life. We have no control. So it's that ship sailed. And honestly, if you research the laws in all of the states, they're all pretty much the same in a sense that they're not. It's not good. Like this mental health system is so broken, and you don't realize how broken it is until you need help, and then the system is just so broken that it doesn't favor kids. I mean, he literally said he was going to rape his siblings, and I had to take the phone from the nurse and talk to the insurance and say, "Don't tell me he's not a danger to other people. You're not qualifying him to stay in the hospital because you're telling me he's not a danger." And then I had to explain to them how he was a danger and make them reconsider it. So then they had to go to their supervisor and fight just so he would be kept in the hospital after he made that comment. That was so dangerous. And they just wanted us to take him home and keep going with our safety plan. And I was like, that is not healthy. Was he a weird kid before he told you these things? Yes, he was weird, antisocial. He's on the autism spectrum, so they're all people on the spectrum. So I have 3 sons on the spectrum. All of our boys have autism. But yeah, he was just different. His was different. He was very obsessed with school buses. He knew every number to every school bus and what route that number associated to. He knew all the makes and models of school buses, and he would sit at home and make noises of school buses. And he was just very obsessed with them, and I never really understood why. And he was very like sensory in a sense that like he didn't want water on his face, he didn't want touched, and then he wanted to do adult things. And when he used to talk to the guy who we think that might have harmed him, they would make him talk about the obituaries that morning in the newspaper, and he would talk about the weather with them. And then they would try and take him to like the Elks Club, which is like a bar. And they had him doing a whole bunch of adult stuff that he shouldn't have been doing. He should have been being a kid, and it was just really, really weird. Robbie now identifies as bisexual, so he has an interest in both boys and girls, but he seems to prefer adult Black males or little boys 5 and under. Do I think that there's possibilities to cure the urges? I think there's different types of therapy that can be done. They're very, very expensive, and they don't make them affordable. At this point, without that type of therapy, do I think he's going to change? I don't think talk therapy can fix his brain mapping. So the dysfunction that's going on in his brain, I don't know that that can be fixed. And yes, I deal with therapy for my trauma. I've been in therapy since I was 16 years old. I used to leave school, and my principal would cover for me, and my parents didn't even know. I used to drive there myself and get therapy once a week, and I still see my therapist once a week. It is hard growing up in a narcissistic family, so I'm sorry that happened. His siblings don't want anything to do with him. Not happening. They don't. And I can't tell you why. I can't go into that. I'm not going to go into that, but he will never have a relationship with any of his siblings ever again. They are very firm on it, and I 100% respect them to the point that they asked to have his pictures removed from the home. For 2 years, I struggled with that, and I didn't want to do it. So right before the episode aired, I removed all of his pictures off the wall for their sake, and the only pictures of him are in me and my husband's bedroom. Those are the only pictures left in the house, and that's in my private space. And so For our sake, we're not quite ready to let go of those, but no, there will never, never, never be a relationship with a siblings. He definitely had some trauma, but there's definitely a dysfunction in the frontal lobe of his brain, which is very common in pedophiles. So he did not come to me about his thoughts and feelings, actually. How that happened was, um, he had been lying and stealing a lot. And so I started talking to his therapist, who encouraged me to talk to special victims units at the state police barracks. And when I was talking to them about my concerns about the man who he had been visiting as a child, they asked me to start asking him questions about how he feels sexually. That's how I initially found out that he felt like he was gay. And we started having these conversations. Then the special victims unit officer asked me to start asking him questions about like the types of things that he thinks about, and like where he's at mentally. And that's when these things started coming out, is when I started asking him questions. He didn't actually so so the so yeah, anyway, so he didn't like come to me and be like, oh, I want help. I He told me information, and when he told me it, he did not think it was wrong. He thought like, this is how I feel, and my mom loves me and respects me, and so this is fine. And then I was like, you realize like that's not okay, right? And then we started having those challenging conversations. And then when I talked to his therapist, I was told I needed to do like daily and weekly check-ins, different questions for daily, different questions for weekly. As for my GoFundMe, the only reason that was set up was because there was a whole bunch of people who were coming forward asking if they could start a GoFundMe for my family. And I'm not really in favor of profiting off of something that my family's going through. I just think that that's like not the right reason to do something. And so my friend Lee ended up setting one up just because there were so many people who had asked about setting one up, that I did not want a stranger setting up a GoFundMe. That made me feel extremely uncomfortable. And if there was going to be one out there, then if people ask about it, so be it. And then it's created. If I just didn't want somebody else creating one. I just thought that that was not good, because I don't really know how they work. And I was like, I don't want somebody else creating something and then like making something out of a situation that they don't even understand. As for converting it to help with Robbie's treatment, again, he is a child of the state. We have no control over his treatment ever again. Unfortunately, he will continue to be mandated by the law into treatment. And so we pay them a lot of money in child support, but we don't get to decide his treatment. So doing a GoFundMe to get him treatment would be pointless, and I would just be taking people's money for no reason. So I definitely don't want to encourage people to help pay for treatment that I know is never going to happen. As for like the original treatment, when we were paying for it, he didn't take any of that serious. He was in the first program for 15 months and in the second program for 4 months. And in those 2 years, he did not take the treatment seriously. And that's when we were responsible for paying for the treatment along with the insurance. And then when the state charged him with his, he got like 12 felonies. He was taken. Now they make all the decisions. His parole officer is responsible for all of those decisions. We can give our opinion and our advice, and we can say what we prefer, but ultimately we don't really get a say so anymore. And so I would definitely not do a GoFundMe for his treatment, because I don't feel like that would be honest. And I am very transparent and very honest about what's going on. The whole spa day thing turned she so the wording on that went for my spa day or whatever, because people kept saying I needed a spa day. I did take some time after everything blew over, and I did go down to the beach for a few days to kind of. Oh, sorry, I got a text message from my husband. He is changing the outlet for me downstairs because it's tripping from my coffee machine all of a sudden. So I told him to change the outlet. It's super frustrating. Anyway, but yes, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I'm sorry. But yeah, so the whole the spa day. Okay, so people wanted to give me a spa day or whatever. So then she said, "Oh, well, you can do it by going to the GoFundMe." Lee is like so determined for people to like donate to my GoFundMe because she is like such a dear friend and so amazing, and she wanted me to go to the beach, and so she wanted like people to help me to do that or whatever. But I was like, girl, if I'm gonna go to the beach, I'm just gonna go to the beach. Like it's fine. I don't need people to like feel sorry for me and want me to go to the beach. So I did go though for like 5 days I went, and I took two of my girls and the baby, and we had a blast. And I worked on my book, and I was right along the ocean, and there was like no people, and it was just really nice to wake up every morning and be able to write with the ocean air and just kind of think and process. But yeah, that's the information about the GoFundMe. It was never created because we wanted donations. It was just created for people who felt like they wanted to help. And I didn't want the wrong people creating something that I didn't even know them. I lost my place again. Hold on, sorry. So Robbie doesn't recognize that his behaviors and thoughts and feelings are wrong. He recognizes that society views them as wrong. There's a difference. He does not want to change them. He wants society to conform to who he is. Unfortunately, society's not going to do that. Neither am I. And so he's going to have to adapt and do the work and put in the work to change, or he's going to live a very miserable life, constantly mandated into treatment. Um, it's hard. It's real. I don't know how to sugarcoat that. Um, so I'm not going to call them siblings because they don't associate themselves to him. And that is something I'm working on because they do not like to be called his siblings. So I'm going to say we have 5 other children outside of Robbie, and our children range in ages from 2 to 14. Most of them are older, 10, 2, 10, 13, 13, 14. Um, so Liddy, do I think he doesn't remember the abuse or doesn't want to talk about it? That's something we've talked about when they did the lie detector test. If he does not view it as abuse and he enjoyed it, then that becomes a problem. So he could have still been abused and thinks that he liked it or that he was a willing participant, but children cannot consent. I cannot say that enough times. If you are a child, you cannot consent. And unfortunately, depending on how he views it in his head, if it did or didn't happen, he doesn't view it as abuse. And also, there's oftentimes when victims are abused at an early age that they actually end up blocking it out. And then they don't actually rediscover it until years later when it all just comes flooding back to them. And all of a sudden they have these memories that they have no idea where they're coming from. At his treatment center, every single person who's there is there for the same reasons. So he has tons of peers around him at the exact same age that are of the same, like they've had the same type of thinking. Did he used to shoplift? I honestly hope not. Um, but I can't say that for sure. I never asked him, honestly, and I don't know that I want to ask him. But he used to steal all the time at home. And he was the kind of kid who he asked me one time, can he have this bag of chocolate chips? And I said, no, I'm going to use that for cookies. Like, you can't eat the bag of chocolate chips. He was like so determined that he was going to eat these chocolate chips that he kept asking all day. And I was like, dude, the answer still didn't change. I'm going to be making cookies. Like, no, you can't eat the chocolate chips. He got so mad. He went down in the middle of the night and he ate 2 pounds of chocolate chips. 2 pounds. That's crazy. He used to do stuff like that just to be spiteful and steal them. And then he'd be like, no, I didn't do it. I swear I didn't do it. And like he would like convince you that like you were the crazy one. And it was just like so hard. But he stole a lot of things. He went to school and stole things from people. People had pencils he wanted, he would steal them. I mean, that's somewhat kid stuff. But like he started stealing lunches. He started stealing cell phones. He said when he stole this kid's stuff, he said, well, his parents are rich and he doesn't need it as much as I do. His parents can just buy him new stuff. And I was just like, what? I was like so shocked. The school had said if he got caught stealing one more time, he was going to end up arrested at school. Like, it got to a point where it just got bad. Like, it was bad. It's okay. I don't feel like you're prying about my other children. I just, for their respect, have been trying to learn to not use the word siblings because that's not how they see themselves. Yes, on the Dr. Phil show, it's definitely portrayed that he sought me to tell me that. But that is not what happened. And I'm not angry at all that people perceive it that way because I can totally see how that happened. But it was not like he was like, oh, I need help. Like, I'm doing something wrong. It was more like I was picking and prying. And I was like, we got to get to the bottom of this. Like, this is not okay. Like, let's figure out how we can help you. And then I was trying to help him to see, like, what was going on. I was trying to help him to see um, how his behavior was not okay. Let me see. Have I heard of MAPS? So a lot of people have been talking about MAPS. I'm not 100% sure what they are, and I want to definitely do more research on the topic. And so, yeah, so I need to do more research when it comes to MAPS because I don't the abbreviation. When I look it up, I find a whole bunch of different things, and so I wanted to talk to his therapist, his old therapist, not his current therapist. His therapist that helped me get him into treatment in the first place. I want to contact her. She hasn't been able to get back to me yet, but I want to talk to her about it. If anybody wants to type out what MAP actually stands for, you can. And then that would kind of help me with my research. But every time I research it, I get completely different things, and I'm not 100% sure what it is. Okay. Will the law ever change for high-risk people to be put to death? I am not sure. And is there talk about it? I mean, there's always talk inside of Congress and with political parties in general. There's always different talks about different things. It doesn't mean that it'll happen or not happen. And I don't feel like that's the route I'm looking at right now. Can he truly control his temptations? At this point, no, he has not learned to. So at this point, no. That's why he's mandated still into treatment. And we revisit his treatment next month to kind of see what the next step is. It's a bit proactive because he's about halfway through his current treatment, and so he'll get remandated. And so we kind of revisit that in the month of November. Hold on, I lost my spot again. I don't know what's cheaper on that. Do I feel like he purposely tries to upset me? Oh, absolutely. He sends me letters that are just nasty, and he thinks he's so freaking tough. And the one day he sent me a letter, like part of my French, but he wrote me this letter that said, basically, so you need to let go of what I did at the other two programs because I'm not at those programs anymore, and I'm a different person, and I'm putting in the work that I need to put in. But you need to accept me for who I am, so you can either accept me or you can go fuck yourself. That's what he wrote to me in a letter. And he said, if you don't want to accept me and who I am, then there's no point of you being in my life. I don't care. And he called me Kristin like 10 times. And he wrote this nasty letter. So then I called and we talked on the phone. And he was like, I was just really upset when I wrote it or whatever. So then I get another letter in the mail telling me to fuck off. And I'm just like, dude, like, it's okay. You're getting upset, whatever. But what's causing you to have a therapy session and then write me a letter that tells me to fuck off? Like, who do you think you are? Like, I get it. You're 16 and you think you're tough, but like, stop it. Like, yes, he definitely tries to upset me. And the first time he wrote me a FU letter, I definitely cried. I was really upset because if you guys realized how much of my time I devoted to helping him and how many hours and hours and hours and hours and hours I spent on the phone, those first 15 months, I spoke to him every single night on the phone. We were allowed to speak for 15 minutes. There were so many nights where we went over and he would get kicked off after like 25 minutes. I was like the one who like, ugh, I get really upset about this because I rooted harder for him than anybody. I took his calls every single time. I made time for him. I pushed and I wanted him to get better, and I still want him to get better. And now that he's talking to his potential abuser again, all of a sudden I'm the bad guy. And because I won't enable him and just say that everything's okay, like I love you for like your behaviors and I accept everything about you, like, yeah, it hurts because he's mad and I get it. And I'm not going to compromise who I am and my beliefs as a woman and a Christian just because this child wants me to enable him. Like, I get it. He's a kid and like I know he's a teenager right now. And so part of that is teenage stuff and hormones, but it is so freaking hard sometimes because I'm not going to enable him. I cannot do that. If I do that, he's not going to get better. So I get so frustrated. And yeah. So the next question is, how am I relating as a mother? And do I feel shame or pride? Um, yeah, I feel shame every day that I couldn't help him and that it wasn't enough. I feel like I've tried everything. I've tried to be supportive. I've tried to encourage him in a positive direction. Um, but it just, yeah, I beat myself up because I'm like, I wasn't enough and I didn't get into his life soon enough and it didn't matter. I wasn't enough. Like I just, yeah. Sometimes I feel shame towards myself. I understand that he's mentally ill. I understand that he's struggling. But yeah, yeah, I definitely beat myself up, and it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard because I feel like a lot of this I have taken very personally, and there's nothing I would not do for him to get better. Nothing. And that's why I went on the Dr. Phil show. Like, I was so desperate and I just needed help. And I took a risk of half of America hating me. And, like, I would do it over again if I thought it was going to get him better. Like, I've done everything I can. Caitlin, I have no idea what you're even saying. What if something happens to us? They would never let him out. The state mandates his treatment, so that doesn't even, I don't really know what you're saying. It doesn't really make sense. Maybe reword it and resubmit it because I don't understand what you're asking. A pedophile who tries to justify their story by describing it in a positive light. Oh, yeah, he definitely thinks he can describe it in a positive light. Sorry, my eyes are foggy. Minor attracted person. See, even you guys have some conflicting stuff. That sadly originally was supposed to mean multiple animated projects. Yeah, and that's what's so confusing. Oh gosh, I'm losing stuff. Let me find my place again. I'm always 10 steps ahead, Caitlin. So I've prepared for everything in life. And I mean, that's why I think we were so proactive in preparing for safety plans because, like, we just didn't want anything bad to happen. I'm still reading, sorry. I don't want to start sniffling. I hate when I sniffle in my videos. They use the term not to sound better than pedophile. From the moment I met Robbie, it wasn't right. So when he was 9, and when he talks about like his history, his history, he identifies beginning to masturbate around the age 8 or 9. So when I came into his life, it was already too late. He had already started forming these thoughts and feelings. And when I would tell my husband that he was misbehaving and acting out, my husband thought that I was just saying that because he was not my child and it was his child. And then he tried to like defend him and say like, this is just who he is. You need to accept this. And so there was a whole lot going on those first few years. And now my husband looks back and was like, maybe I should have disciplined him when you told me to, and maybe I should have listened more. But he was always that way, and his mother always like let him do these things. And I was like, okay, well, It was never about your kids versus my kids. It was always about what was appropriate and what was right. And I was trying to help. And there became a point where I got so frustrated with it that I was just like, if I can't discipline him on my own, then I'm just not even gonna fight for it anymore. Like there was like a point where I just got so frustrated asking my husband to like take care of things or see something a different way. And it was so frustrating. So frustrating. So the letters are not monitored because in our state, legally at the age of 14, you have the rights to your files and who you release information to. So he has full rights because he's 16, and so he can determine who he talks to and shares his health information with. Yeah, broken system. There we go again. It's so frustrating. Thank you guys for all the sweet comments. I'm not skimming over them. I'm reading each of them. I just don't know how to take a compliment very well. But thank you guys. I really appreciate the love and support, like more than I can say. Yes, all of our kids know why he's not living here, and I'm not going to go into it. I do have a video releasing tomorrow at noon that talks about how we kind of went through it with the kids and like the release of information, like how we kind of like fill them in slowly over time. But there's a lot of things about our children that I cannot disclose or talk about. I'm so sorry, Caitlin, that happened to you. I definitely have tried to do everything in my power. I don't really feel like I could have done anything more, but I have tried so hard to be proactive. Thank you guys for acknowledging my story and what I've been through and how that makes me a survivor. I appreciate the support. Some people, okay, so there are therapies that are not like widely accepted that can help pedophiles, but it's so unaffordable that you often would never even be eligible to get the help. Because we did find things he could do, but then by then he was already being charged, and so we couldn't even try to pay for the therapies. But the treatment for the therapies are around like $80,000 just for like a few sessions. Like it's ridiculous. I definitely don't want to put myself on the level of Archangel Michael. That's my dude, but I'm not gonna put myself ever on that level. But thank you so much for the compliment. I certainly will never put myself on a godly level. Although I try to love all people and be a loving person, I certainly am a very flawed individual and I fail daily. Like I'm sure of it. Every once in a while, I might flip somebody off when I'm driving. True story. I am not perfect. So do know that. Like I know that like you all love me and want to be supportive, but please don't put me up on a pedestal because if I fail, I don't want you guys to think that I'm not flawed because I am. I'm certainly flawed. I cuss sometimes. I have flipped people off when I'm driving. I don't usually, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. Like this one guy. Okay, so you're gonna get me going. You're gonna get me going. But anyway, this guy, he was determined to like cut me off so much so that he literally drove me off the road. Like I had nowhere to go but off the road. And he knew he was doing it. I honked my horn. But then he just like stopped for a second and then pushed me over. And I was just kind of like, oh my goodness. So yeah, totally flipped him off. I did. It was not a good moment. And at the grocery store, one time I got really mad at this lady because I was going in the wrong direction because I had went in the right direction and then I forgot something. So I turned my card around and I went back down the wrong direction. And she said, "You're going in the wrong direction." And I was like, "Are you the direction police? Like, what is wrong with you?" I said, "Just do your shopping and leave me alone." And then she said something else. And I said, "Listen, you're not going to police me." And I got really mad. And I was like, "You're just going to sit there and shut your mouth. And I'm going to go get what I need to get because I accidentally turned my card around and had to go back for something." I was so mad. You have no idea. See, I can be mean. That was mean. I shouldn't have yelled at her, but I did. And actually, that day, I found out some really bad stuff about Robbie. And I think I took it out on her. All because she policed me going the wrong way. I definitely can't always help everyone, but the big thing for me is that if I can't help Robbie, then I want to at least help those who want help and who can be helped. So I am committed to helping anybody who wants help. Will I ever disown him? I can't say. Probably not. Will I distance myself in moments where I need to do so to keep healthy? Absolutely. I talk to Dr. Phil's assistant regularly and plan to send him one of my books autographed, as he said he wants to have a book. But I don't ask them for anything. I'm grateful for what they did, and I'm not the type of person who will ask for anything. I am very grateful. Oh no, my internet's failing. Wait a second. Hold on, I gotta tell my husband something really quick. Yeah, I'm mouthing what I'm typing. Okay. Okay, where was I? But yeah, I keep in touch with them. I mean, they follow my channel and stuff too. They watch my YouTube actually, and they also are completely aware of my life and my book, and they are so supportive. Like if I need anything, I know that I can call them. I just don't ever ask for anything because I don't I don't want to be that person. And at this point, he's mandated by the state, so there's nothing they can do any more than I can do. It's definitely hard being the bad guy. It's definitely hard. Um, I think it's purely sexual attraction. In my daughter's room, and they're asking where. So we have one cell phone that can call my husband and myself. So we call it the kid phone. And outside of that, everything else is blocked on it, but it's missing, and I'm using it as a hotspot for my internet. I'm gonna try to connect to my actual internet, but I don't think it's gonna let me. Or let me just turn on my hotspot on my own cell phone, and then I can switch. Okay. I turned on my hotspot, so if it dies, hopefully it'll just connect to my phone. Logan. So those tags were copied and pasted, and I didn't pay attention to that at the bottom. And by the way, they were removed a really long time ago. So you can stop being copied and pasted, and I didn't pay attention to that at the bottom. And by the way, they were removed a really long time ago. So you can stop being a hater. And now you're blocked. So you can watch my videos, but you can no longer comment because you're just a nasty person who decided to pop on here for no good reason. So, bye. Next. Yeah, Robbie definitely knows that there is hope. Has he ever thought about hurting himself? Not really. He doesn't really get to a place where he wants to hurt himself because he doesn't really view it as wrong. I think there has to be some guilt associated with the behavior in order for them um, to kind of get to those suicidal ideations. Suicide comes from that feeling of hopelessness and despair, but he doesn't have those feelings, if that makes sense. So I don't know if he'll get there. I pray to God he doesn't. I would hate to see him kill himself instead of just taking his treatment seriously and working the program. Yeah, it's definitely challenging to be a victim um, and also trying to get him help. But I am very much in a good place with my traumas. So I feel like I was able to help him because I had to at first detach from my own trauma to make sure I wasn't projecting. And so since I was able to do that, I tried to focus on each as a separate problem. No, he's not released. He's still by the state treatment, and he will still stay in the state system, and he'll be mandated into treatment, into the next treatment, into the next treatment until he takes it serious. If he turns 21, then the state will still take over and mandate him as an adult. Do I think it's purely a sexual attraction? I don't think he's saying the things because he thinks it's hurtful and destructive. I definitely think it's because he can't fight his thoughts and feelings. He was able to use the internet. You guys definitely misinterpret that, and it drives me insane. Literally. My children can use the internet. They just don't have cell phones and tablets that are just free range to the internet. I'm not going to take my kids to a bar. I'm not going to take my kids to a strip club. And I'm not going to hand my kids a cell phone and tell them do whatever the hell you want on it. I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to apologize for it. And if that's your prerogative and that's how you want to raise your children, I mean, that's cool, but that's not me. So my kids don't get free range to the internet, but they certainly had ability to use the internet. And when inappropriately used, you would get warnings or discipline, or you get banned because you obviously have proven time and time again that you can't handle internet usage. So when you're in a situation where your computer is in the middle of the living room and he still looks up porn, that's a serious problem. And so therefore he lost all internet privileges, and it wasn't going to happen under my roof. He's not looking up porn here. So I mean, that's the stuff he did at his biological mom's house, and that's her problem. And she did that and allowed him to do that, and that's got to be something that she's gonna have to, talk to God about whenever her day comes. But not happening in this household, and I don't feel sorry for it, and I'm not gonna feel sorry for it, and I'm never gonna apologize for the way that I parent. You get to parent your kids the way you want to parent yours, and I get to parent mine the way I see fit. The abuse of the animal already came out, and so it was already reported. So, I mean, that was all taken into account when he was charged. Okay, Robbie was 15, never in high school. He went into treatment whenever he just had started the ninth grade. And no, my kids don't get cell phones. I didn't have a cell phone. I bet you didn't have a cell phone, and we turned out just fine. Yes, thank you. No, bio mom's not involved. She was in jail, then she was out of jail, then she went back to jail. Then, since she got out of jail like a month ago, she's already overdosed and almost died twice. So, no, she's not in their life. None of my kids want anything to do with her. I respect that. There's a PFA that was formed by CYS against her. She tried to murder her husband. She's also sociopathic, and she's just not a good person, and that's all fact. But I'm not going to tell you my opinion of her because I'm not going to speak about my opinion. But no, she's not in their life. No, whenever the stuff happened, he was 13, maybe. I mean, he's only 16 now, and it's been going on 3 years. So, yeah, he was like 13 at the time, and he just turned 16. So, no. And no, my kids don't need cell phones. We have one phone for the kids in the event that they go somewhere or need to do something. They can take it with them, but there's restrictions on it. They're certainly, again, not going to have free range. That would be like, okay, so people in your thoughts and feelings about like the internet and your kids should be able to have certain freedoms, like that is so just, I just don't think you understand. It would be like you going to the grocery store, giving them a cart and telling them, go ahead and pick whatever you want and then just meet me at the checkout. You gonna do that? If you're not gonna do that, then why are you giving them a phone saying, look at whatever you want and I'm gonna trust you? And then when something goes wrong and your kid ends up like offending or in jail or something goes terribly wrong, it's already too late. So then what? Like, then what are you gonna do? Wish you hadn't done it? Or be a little bit protective and make sure that it never happens? Like, why would we not be like preemptive in the way that we're thinking regarding internet usage and being realistic about statistics? I mean, look at statistics. Like, if you guys want to know why I parent the way I parent, I mean, look at statistics. Yeah, our kids also aren't allowed to watch anything that's past PG-13. My son is well, all the kids, they are allowed to play Grand Theft Auto 5, um, but it's not that it's sexualized and you can, like, turn off certain features of it. But they're not allowed to like play it alone. And if I saw any negative behaviors from it, then I would have banned it. But I sat there and watched it, and I get that there's like prostitutes and stuff in there. But they like I'm not gonna like put my kids in a bubble, but I'm also not going to expose them to things that are extremely harmful or allow them to be exposed to those types of things when it's exactly my job to be the parent, and that's what I'm gonna do. I know things that I did on the internet as a kid, and as much as I'd like to pretend like I'm an angel, um, I I chatted with strangers in chat rooms. I mean, think about ICQ chat and Yahoo chat and all the chat rooms. I was a kid who felt like a loner, and I didn't have like any real friends, and I would talk on random chat rooms. And I remember just like that's not a safe situation. I mean, I was smart enough to know like you don't give out personal information, but yeah, I mean, think about the things that you did as a kid, and I'm not gonna like wait for my kids to mess up. I'm gonna support them and help them to understand why we make the decisions that we make, and then hopefully they can be supportive of our decisions, and they are. My kids, I communicate with them. I must have missed some stuff. He won't ever have freedom. Maybe you missed that. I already covered that topic, that he will never have freedom. He's always going to be state mandated, always. So it's not like he's just going to be able. And if you're a registered pedophile, maybe you don't know this, but if you're a registered sex offender or a pedophile, a lot of times you're not even allowed internet access on your phone as an adult. A lot of people don't know that. So you can be mandated that you're not allowed to have internet on your phone, and you're not allowed to have social media. And if you get caught, like I know a person who he I don't know the real story, but I was told he wasn't actually an offender, but he served time for it. Well, he got out. He was mandated that he was not allowed to have social media and he was not allowed to be on the internet. He broke that. He went right back to jail. So I do know that there's a lot of mandated things. So like the idea of thinking that he's just gonna like magically go walk free when he has 12 felonies against him. I mean, that's just kind of silly to think that he's just gonna be free. And as an adult, he will carry the heaviest weighted felony. So if he messes up one time, he's in jail. Like he doesn't get like a pass go. Like he doesn't get to just like have freedoms. Like he messed that up when he did not take his first two treatments seriously. And I blamed myself for that, but I tried. I tried to encourage him. I tried to help him see the seriousness. His original therapist at the first program, she tried to help him see the seriousness. He knew the consequences going in. He didn't put in the effort, and ultimately, he has to live with that decision for the rest of his life. I'm not going to take accountability for something that I didn't do. And ultimately, he's not going to have freedoms. So, to even think or consider that he will have those types of freedoms, um, he won't. So, okay, so have I adopted them, or would I want to if I could? I have considered it. However, I actually would rather wait to adopt them until they're adults. And I know that sounds really strange because at that point it does not matter, but I never want them to feel like because I wanted to adopt them, and I actually like had talked to our lawyer about like doing the papers, and I still consider adopting the two girls. And I thought about it, and I never want them to feel like I like took away an opportunity for them to have their real mom. And I know like they're older now, and so I would definitely consider it now as they're getting older because they're 13 and 14. But I don't want them to ever feel like I did it for my own reasons, that I wanted to have them as my children. I want it to be like fully mutual, which it is. They accept me as mom and they want me to adopt them. Don't get me wrong, but they're so young that I don't know that they're ready to make such a permanent decision. They're still processing their own trauma from bio mom, and so I'd rather they're 100%. Like, they say they don't want anything to do with her, and I get it, but they're still also healing from feeling abandoned or neglected by her. So I just want to make sure that the timing of it is right, and I absolutely would adopt them. Social media is definitely not necessary. I don't have a Twitter because, well, I don't understand really the purpose of Twitter or why to use it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a bit behind. I also do have a TikTok. However, I've never used it. And I went on TikTok one time. Never again. Oh my goodness. I went down a rabbit hole and I was sucked in. I could not get off of TikTok. I was so sucked in. I was like, I can't do that to myself ever again because I don't have that kind of time. So I'm like, I don't need that in my life. I don't need that kind of negativity. But yeah, no, I love TikTok, but I just refuse. I'm like, no, I can't do that because it was seriously